Last Time We Saw Her, written by Jane Anderson. Over the next 10 minutes, you'll be experiencing the struggle of one woman coming out in the workplace. Now I'd like to take you back in time to 1994, before marriage equality existed, when it was still legal to be fired due to your sexual orientation, to an office in Cleveland, Ohio. I present to you The Last Time We Saw Her.
I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. I can't change.
Well, then I think we should have a meeting with management to find out what's going on down there. Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. Sooner than later, absolutely. All right. I appreciate it. Excuse me. Nancy, could you call Paul Christensen and tell him that we'd like to review his client records back to 86? And as soon as I'm done with this meeting, get Don Lilly on the phone for me. Thank you. Yes, Fran.
Well, I'm not going to take a lot of your time with this, or my time for that matter, because to be frank, I have quite a full morning ahead of me, as I'm sure you do, so I'll be very brief about this.
All right.
As you know, I've made a long-term commitment to this company, and I'd like to contribute as much as I can.
Well, as a matter of fact, Fran, we're very happy with your performance, and we'll certainly look into extending your opportunities.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So is there a problem?
No, I wouldn't consider it a problem. It's just something I'd like you to be aware of so I can continue working here without spending unnecessary energy on this particular issue. My primary goal really is to remove any obstacles to my own efficiency level.
Sounds fine to me.
And again, this is not something that needs to be a concern to you or whatever, but I happen to be gay. For whatever that's worth. And basically, I just wanted you to be aware of that so I don't have to be concerned about you finding out from another source.
I see. Well, I don't have any particular opinion on this issue one way or the other.
No? Well, that's fine.
In any case, these things exist, and as I see it, what you do in the privacy of your home is your business, and I certainly respect that.
Thank you. Normally, I wouldn't have brought this to your attention because I believe that the work is primary, but certain things have become rather problematic for me. And for me to maintain my own efficiency level, I'm going to let certain people in my office know about me, and I didn't want that information to reach you without my talking to you first.
I appreciate that.
And that's all I really need to say.
Can I ask why you feel the need to discuss this in your office?
Well, it's the whole effort of secrecy that's become rather burdensome.
I see.
For instance, my secretary, who handles all of my personal calls, she's been talking to my companion, to Judith, for 6 years now, and she still thinks that Judith is my roommate. Frankly, I'm too old to have roommates.
Perhaps you could tell your secretary that Judith is not your roommate, but just a very good friend.
But my secretary already knows that Judith lives with me.
I see that would still make you suspect.
I think the whole point is that my secretary has probably guessed by now who Judith is, and there's no point in lying about a relationship.
If you feel she already knows, then why is there a need to discuss it with her?
Because there's certain discomfort when things are left unsaid. You see, it's like, well, for instance, what if you couldn't tell your secretary that your wife was your wife? What if you had to make up some story that your wife was your sister who was sharing the house with you until both you could afford to live on your own? And your secretary knew that she was your wife, but treated her like your sister.
Well, in fact, when my secretary does speak to my sister, he treats her with as much courtesy as she does my wife. I expect her to treat everyone with courtesy.
That was a bad example. It's not really about courtesy. My secretary is very polite. I just think we waste a lot of time dancing around the issue.
Oh, I can understand that.
And it's put a very big strain on my relationship with Judith. We've been together for 8 years. We own a house together. She's a successful marketing executive. She doesn't appreciate it when my secretary says, Fran, your roommate is on the line.
Yes, but that's a problem that you can resolve with your secretary. My secretary once referred to my wife as the Mrs. I don't know why she did that, but I found it inappropriate, and so I told her to please always refer to my wife as either my wife or Mrs. Hunter. So you can tell your secretary not to refer to Judith as your roommate, but as Judith. Or you might even prefer that she only use her last name, which I feel is always more respectful.
But I still think I need to discuss with my secretary who exactly Judith
Not
is.
necessarily. You're simply asking her not to use that particular reference.
But it goes beyond that. Judith has reached a point where she doesn't want to be treated as something unmentionable anymore.
Yes, but that's your own personal issue. If my wife and I have any kind of argument or personal problem to resolve, I leave it at home. I don't discuss it with my secretary or my partners or anyone else.
No, I'm a very private person. I understand that.
And I think that the same thing applies with expressing affection in public. For instance, my youngest daughter and her boyfriend are physically very expressive with each other, and there are times when I find it inappropriate. I believe in discretion no matter what particular bent you are.
I'm not disagreeing.
You know what I think it is, Fran? I think that people are losing their manners. And I mean that in a larger sense. For instance, in business, it used to be if there was a dispute, there was a protocol for sitting down and discussing things, but now people just pick up the phone. I'm not a prude, but when someone uses foul language with me, it just puts me in the wrong frame of mind.
Uh-huh.
And here's another example. My oldest daughter, Melissa, works for a law firm downtown, and at lunchtime she goes to a certain coffee shop, and there are some individuals who work behind the counter who are consistently rude to her. And not just rude, mind you, but outright abusive, turning their backs on her when she tries to talk to her, giving her evil looks. And by the way, my daughter is one of the nicest girls you could ever meet. Melissa will call me in tears and say, "Dad, I just don't understand it." Frankly, neither do I. These particular individuals happen to be black, and I don't mean to sound prejudiced. In fact, I've hired a great deal of black individuals. Some of them are very fine people, but I've noticed a general hostility coming from that particular group that's very disturbing. I just want to sit down with them and say to them, look, if you want things to change, then you're going to have to learn some manners. That kind of behavior is just plain counterproductive. Is that being racist?
Well.
Maybe it's just being old-fashioned. I don't know. The world's going too fast for me. Wish my daughter could have grown up in a gentler time. There's no reason for her to fear for her life every time she goes to lunch. Absolutely no reason.
No, I can understand that.
But my hunch is that it's perhaps different with the gays. Is that the term you like to use?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that as a whole, the gays are probably better educated and I'd say quieter, more polite than other groups. There's a young man who works over in accounting who's questionable, but he's sharp as a tack and works harder than anyone else over there. It'd be foolish for me to fire him. It'd just be plain bad business.
Well, yes, it would.
So as we stand, you'll be talking to your secretary, and I assume this will be confidential.
No, actually, I was planning on telling everyone in my division.
I see. May I ask why?
Because I think it will make things more comfortable.
For you or for them?
For everyone, I hope.
Let me make a suggestion. You've been here for how long? 6 years?
Yes.
And you're respected, well-liked, your division is extremely productive, so from a professional standpoint, you could say that everything is working as it should.
Fairly well, yes.
Well, not fairly well, Fran. You could even say that your department is excelling.
Well, thank you.
So if we were to really examine the situation, you'd have to say that whatever problem you're having is of a personal, not a professional nature.
But this does affect my professional relationships.
But now you're saying that you have a personal problem that may affect those you work with.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Let me make another example. We had a manager who worked in a division over in Dayton who had an alcohol problem. Now, it wasn't an overwhelming problem. He was never drunk when he came to work, but his drinking habits were, in fact, affecting his home life. So finally, very quietly, he took 2 weeks off, got himself into a program, and when he came back, no one was the wiser. You see, it was nobody's business that he had an alcohol problem. In fact, it would have undermined his authority if anyone knew. See what I'm saying?
I don't really think this is the same thing.
This is what I don't quite understand. Being that your situation is related to your sexual behavior, why would you think it inappropriate to display those feelings in the workplace?
I wouldn't be displaying any behavior.
It's not inappropriate for normal people to display their sexual feelings in the workplace.
I didn't say it was appropriate. That's not what I would do.
Then what exactly is it that you would want to do?
I would simply want to let people in my office know that I'm in a relationship with a woman. And for me, that's a very normal part of my life.
And how exactly would that improve their work performance? Do you see what I'm saying now?
Yes, but that wasn't my original point.
I believe that you said you were concerned with maintaining the efficiency level in your department. Isn't that what you said?
I don't think you understand my situation, Mr. Hunter. I eat lunch alone every day because I'm terrified that people will ask about my personal life. I sit at my desk with a cup of soup and a sandwich reading old copies of computer news. I don't go to office parties. I don't go to picnics. I don't have drinks with our clients. When I show up to a conference after the seminar, I go straight to my room and order room service. I don't have a personality anymore. I have nothing to bring home to Judith. We eat dinner in silence, and the only conversation is directed to the cat. That is not my idea of a life.
Fran, have you ever seen a play called The Rainmaker?
Excuse me?
Rainmaker. The movie had Burt Lancaster. Have you ever seen it? Do you know the scene when Lizzie says to Starbuck that she always thought she was plain? And then Starbuck says, Lizzie, that's all nonsense. It's all in your head. You could be the most beautiful woman in the world if you just believe it. Do you remember that scene?
I'm not sure you're getting at.
Let me ask you, Was there ever a time in your life when you were attracted to men?
Excuse me.
Was there ever a time when you were in love with a man or had a crush on some fellow?
No, Mr. Hunter.
Perhaps that left you disappointed or hurt.
Nothing like that ever occurred.
Sought counseling on this issue.
Yes, I have.
And did you ever discuss the possibility of having sexual feelings towards men?
Yes, we did, but there didn't seem to be any feelings to discuss.
So if a man in your office, for instance, said, "Fran, I find you very attractive. Can I take you out to dinner?" you would not accept?
Why would I do that? I live with Judith.
But what I don't quite understand is that when a man and a woman are together, as opposed to a woman and a woman or a man and a man, the design of the male and female body is made in such a way that it's physically pleasurable for those of the opposite sex to be together. In other words, is the experience that you have satisfying?
Mr. Hunter, if you're asking me how I do it, it's none of your business.
But don't you think, Fran, that everyone else in your office will be wondering the same thing?
As I said, it's no one's business.
Bingo. That's why you don't have to tell anyone.
I don't think you understand. She's about to leave me. I'm about to lose my life's companion.
Are you attracted to your secretary?
Excuse me.
I'm wondering if you ever look at your secretary in a romantic way. It's a natural reaction. I certainly look at mine from time to time, not that I would ever do anything about it. It's a normal and a healthy thing for a man to look at other women, so I was just curious to know if you ever had the same impulse.
Absolutely not.
There you go, perhaps you're attracted to women after all.
I don't think we need to take any more time with this. Thank you for seeing me.
Sorry this has been such an issue for you, Fran. Wish we could find a solution to this. Put my thinking cap on. Believe in yourself, Fran. Don't be afraid to dream.
God help your wife. God help your children. God help everyone you ever come in contact with.
Nancy, I'm not ready for that call yet.
Woo!